Well, guys, I'm sure I will be repeating this message from time to time, but welcome to the program. Welcome to the show. I am your host, sadly not Adriqos. This is Mark Goldberg from Mark Vlogs Watches. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to wait until a few other people come. I don't really know. I got people in my comments now talking about something, and I don't know what you guys are talking about. You're talking about somebody else's stream, which I don't know about, but I'm going to wait a couple minutes until people show up here. And what I would like, the object, the idea of what I would like, somebody better tell me in the comments what you guys are talking about, because we've only been live for a moment here. There's like 50 of you in here. And people are angry at Clyde, but I don't really know why. So maybe somebody will explain it to me in the comments. I will not be having guests on this show because I would like it right now. I would like this to be just us. Except for, of course, I'm getting a phone call now, so it's messing me up. Hold on. Don't move, guys. I assume you can still see me. All right, hold on. I'll find you again. There we are. Okay. So, guys, I don't really know what's going on. Rancher's in the comments. Rancher, I don't know what you did to upset these people, but they're a little angry at you. I will not be rubbing the mug right now. Here's the thing, guys. It's got nothing to do with Clyde, who I love dearly. They think Rancher, what are they mad at? They think Rancher joined Archie's stream and posted porno. No, he didn't. You know, guys, I can tell you this much. There's a troll for every occasion, and they adopt the names of well-known YouTubers. So trust me, that was not the Rancher. And here's how I know that. First, the Rancher has really bad porn. Rancher doesn't really have porn. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the Rancher isn't appearing on Archie for love nor money, not even to post porn. But let me tell you why I'm not having guests today. I got to read my message, sorry. But that's the reason that we're not is because I would like this to just be a calm discussion, about us and Andy Hunter. So what I would especially like is if you have any funny, happy, sad, poignant memories of Andy Hunter that you would like to share, go ahead and tell that story or put that in the comments, and then I'll highlight and we will talk about it more. The subject today is not Clyde, it's not Archie, it's not trolling, it's not any of that. The subject today is Andy Hunter. This is the day on which Andy passed. Now, here's the thing. I had a pretty strong suspicion that Andy was not well. And I'll tell you why, because he put a message out that he would be off of Facebook for approximately a year, but that he would be back and he would explain everything at some point. But he wasn't prepared to do so at the moment. And to me, that sounded a little bit like an individual who was battling some kind of illness. Okay. How did he pass? Well, Magnum Man, I don't know the answer to that. Who was Andy Hunter? Andy Hunter had a very well-known YouTube channel called Adriqos, and he hasn't been real active on YouTube probably for a good 6 or 8 months, but I think it was because he was sick. Sick with what? I don't know. But I think he was pretty ill. And I know this because periodically I would reach out to Andy and have a chit chat with him. He was a great guy over the years. I talked to him many, many times. And the reality of it was that the last time I had communication with Andy, he left me a voice message. We were kind of going back and forth with voice texts, making each other laugh and being silly and, being stupid. And so, but he left me a message, which I put on my memorial video, my tribute to Andy. So on my channel is a remembering Andy Hunter kind of a video. And he left me a message. It's on there, and you'll hear it in his voice, because what I was saying to him was, Andy, I want you back. What's going on? Why aren't you on YouTube? You're a public figure. Let's be public. And basically, he was telling me not to worry. But in telling me not to worry, I could hear in his voice, he just didn't really sound good. Bugsy says the last time he was in touch with Andy was the 20th of March, which is pretty recently. You wanted to know if your new hat made you look Greek, and he said it did. Well, Andy, like most Greeks, was extremely proud of being Greek. And in fact, he owns some land in Greece. He has a house in Greece, and there are olive trees on the land. And Andy would have the olive oil pressed out of his own olives, and he would bring that over, and sometimes he would share with friends when he could. Rancher said he talked with Andy on the phone a couple dozen times and enjoyed the conversation. Rancher, you talk to everybody a couple dozen times. In fact, you talk to me a couple dozen times a day. And yes, he was looking thin the last time I saw him. And no, he didn't want to talk about it. So I don't know what all that was. You'll have to draw your own conclusions. Maybe we'll find out more soon. Andy was an incredible guy, though. He was one of the OG, one of the old gangster, one of the original guys on YouTube talking about watches. And I was captivated by he had a very different persona on YouTube than the reality of Andy when you got to know him and talk to him separately. Because when on air, he was brash and he was bold and he was manly and he was assertive and he would make, broad statements and be very, 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 just very sure of himself. He was definitely cocky. In that way. And that kind of really in your face, extremely, demanding kind of an attitude. It was funny, it made for great video, but it attracted trolls. He brought out trolls like nobody I've ever known other than Matt Stevens, who has that same superpower, but at the same time, he was kind of like an everyman. He was like a normal dude who liked, cleaning his pool, making videos, smoking a stogie, and, petting his dogs on camera. And at a certain point, I watched so many of his videos. Here were guys who were making videos at that time. It was Andy, and then who else? It was Andy, and it was Simon Crane. And it was Matt Stevens and Don Haynes. These guys were all making videos. And so I thought, I want to be like them. Little did I know that maybe it wasn't such a mentally healthy hobby, to get involved in. But I really, I kind of wanted to be, I kind of just wanted to be like them, especially like Andy, because he was like a little bit of a hero of mine. I'll resume this story in a minute. Pat's fan says, Andy was great. He was a friend of mine on Facebook. Every time it was my birthday or my ex-wife's, he would say, happy birthday. I talk to him every once in a while. Rest in peace, Andy. And there are so many people, who have similar experiences. And the reality of it was that Andy was not the same guy that you saw on YouTube, which surprised me a little, but as I got to know him a little bit better, what I discovered was he was almost, in some senses, almost the opposite. He came across as a guy on camera who, I don't give a crap what you people think, here's the reality. But as a person, just like human to human, he was emotional and he was sensitive. And yes, he was manly because, you know what the Greeks say, never leave your buddies behind. He was a manly dude. But he was a sensitive guy. He was a caring guy. And I didn't know how to make videos. I had so many such basic, questions. The questions I had were like, how do you get music on there? How did you do that intro? How do you upload? I mean, I asked him all of this stuff. Like, how do I do any of these things? And he was always happy to help. Hang on one sec. I'm just trying to figure out how to. I don't know how to do a thing. There we go. Okay, just getting rid of. I have a few trolls of my own. I have a lot fewer trolls than Andy, did, though, and I think it's because I'm just. I'm not as direct. Andy was very direct. Andy had friends in amongst the YouTubers, and then Andy had enemies, and Andy had trolls, and Andy carried on. But you know what? Like I said, when you got to know him, he would give you the shirt off your back. I mean, he literally taught me how to make a video, how to upload a video. He was just so encouraging. Him and Bruce Williams, those two, were just always very, very giving about it. In an era when, for whatever reason, most YouTubers feel competitive. Like if you watch my video, you won't watch the other guy's video. And it's such a silly attitude. At the end of the day, you should watch everybody. Even if there's a guy out there that I don't especially like, but you do, watch him. There's an unlimited need for content, for entertainment, for human connection. So I've decided for Lent, I'm going to give up internet feuds. They just don't lead anywhere. But at the end of the day, Andy was a guy who just said, I've got no secrets. What do you want to know? And he told me everything, and anything I wanted to know, he would explain to me how to upload, how to make videos. He was always super encouraging. And here's a funny little secret. I always sort of gauged whatever tiny little bit of success that I've had on YouTube. It's very modest, but that being said, this channel has grown so much bigger than I would have ever thought or expected. I've been at it for 5 or 6 years now, and I'm up a little over 21,000 subscribers. And I still remember when I hit 1,000, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. It was crazy. 1,000 people. Imagine putting them all in a room. Now there's 21,000 of you, but so much of that had to do with Andy. He was just one of the original guys making videos. He just did them in his backyard, out by his pool, or he'd do them wearing that stupid cowboy hat, that tattered cowboy hat on his couch with like an 80-pound pit bull, in his lap. And Magnum wants to know if his Steinhardt is still being mailed around. And oh my God, Andy pulled so many shenanigans. Like, he took a watch off of Don Haynes and then he kept it for like 3 years before he reviewed it and finally sent it back. Was the Patek fake? Probably. I don't know this for a fact, but it probably was. And if it was Andy just having a great big laugh and a goof on all of us, because that's the kind of guy who Andy was. Andy was just trying to make us think. He was just trying to stir the pot. He was trying to rake the muck. That was Andy. If he could get a rise out of the audience, make us think, make us evaluate, that's really, I think, all he wanted to do. Guys in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Andy never monetized his videos. I don't think he ever took a penny. Like, I am shameless. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a capitalist. And so I make you people watch endless, commercials. Sorry, but, I make you watch the commercial or skip the commercial. But Andy never, Grubnob, welcome to the program. Welcome to the show, Grubnob. We'll talk about you in a little bit, Grubnob, because you had a classic interaction and feud with Andy. But Andy never monetized his channel, and he made hundreds of videos, hundreds of them. But he said it over and over again, publicly and privately. He did it for fun. He didn't do it for money. He did it for fun. And he always said, if it's not fun, I'll stop doing it. And he only stopped doing it, I think, when he just got too skinny and too sick, to make those shows. The thing that I learned about Andy as I got to know him on much more of a personal level was that YouTube, watch collecting, that kind of stuff, although it was something that he enjoyed and it was his hobby, he had something else in his life that was a lot more important to him than YouTube, and that was his family. And it starts with Mrs. Hunter, who we always called Mrs. Hunter. And I forget where they met, but It was in high school or college, I'm pretty sure. And Andy talked a really good game about being a ladies' man and a manly man. And but I remember talking to him one time, and he said, well, the reality of it is we've been married for I forget how long. He was like, I think 20, when he met her. And he said there was barely a woman before, and he goes, then there's never been another woman since. And so Andy talked a good game, like he had racked up all kinds of numbers, like he had notches on his gun belt and stuff. But the reality of it was this guy was crazy about his wife and crazy about his wife. And reverse is true. And I'll tell you how I know it, because periodically we would FaceTime or text or whatever. He'd just turn on the camera. And one time he just had to give Mrs. Hunter the phone because, they were in the car and he was driving. And so, several times I got to see sort of like just a little bit of a backseat into that relationship. And, Andy could be a sarcastic, pointy son of a bitch. He really could. But let me tell you what, Mrs. Hunter took no shit. Okay. Mrs. Hunter takes no prisoners. And so I'm sure I could kind of tell from what she wrote on Facebook that she would have known that this was coming, but I know it will be a very hard blow to her, a very hard blow, because this guy was her partner in crime. Okay. These two had a mad love affair that never dimmed. They were wild about each other. They joked, they hassled, they fought, whatever they did seemed to me that they did it together. And it was a kind of a beautiful thing to behold, sort of the relationship that we would all want in our way. And Mrs. Hunter, let me tell you what, she's beautiful, and he knew it. He knew it. He was always he always loved the way she looked, and I don't think he ever really failed to tell her. So I think that relationship was really remarkable in this day and age. Really such an enduring relationship, So it really it really was interesting. Grobnob, I'm not going to throw you a link because I don't want anybody on here. I just want it to be a quiet conversation between me and you guys, but I do want to talk about you and with you in the comments in a moment. And then Andy had kids, and the kids are married. He had sons, and the boys are married and have babies. So Andy had grandkids. I can't tell you how many, but I know that, that family would get together constantly. And of course, COVID threw a damper on that, but there's just hundreds of pictures of Andy and the grandkids. So and he was wild about that, about his family, and this was really the pride of his life. I think Andy took pride in his work. Sometimes he'd show me the construction and remodeling and stuff that he was doing. And he was a man who took a lot of pride in his work. But his real pride, other than those olive trees in Greece, his real pride and joy was his family, an extremely tight family. This is how the Greeks are. They're not messing around. Greeks, Italians, Jews, there's just certain ethnic groups where family is just tight. They stay together, they fight together, but family above all family. And this is how he always struck me. Now, that being said, Andy could carry a grudge, and Andy could fight with people, and he often did. So he started out friends with Archie, but let's just put it this way, not to slam anybody, but not him. But Archie's hard to stay friends with. It's not easy. It's hard. It's hard, fuckers. So hold on, I've got like another idiot to get rid of. There we go. God, I love these buttons where I can just get rid of people. So Andy fought with Archie. He was friendly with Suckerhorn, and then he was not friendly with Suckerhorn, and I don't know. And then, I have always done the best that I could to either ignore the trolls or avoid fighting with them. Because the reality is, well, Winston Churchill, no, it wasn't Winston Churchill, it was George Bernard Shaw, is reputed to have said, never wrestle with a pig because you'll get dirty, plus which the pig likes it. you know? So, excuse me, checking the phone. Okay. So, that's the problem. If you fight with the trolls, they just enjoy it. They love it. It feeds them oxygen. Now, that does bring to mind Grobnob. Grobnob, for whatever reason, Grobnob, I've always been a little bit secretly grateful that you've taken it easy on me, because you always have. And I appreciate that, because what I know is you're a fearsome enemy. Now, you may be a 48-year-old man living in your mother's basement somewhere, in a council house in England. That's possible. I don't really know, but that's what I've been told. But you have a fierce intellect and a good knowledge of the internet. So, like, you are the guy that I really do not want to fight with. But boy, oh boy, did you and Adriqos, go at it in many epic ways. I believe that there were many threats of fisticuffs, and he was going to go there and find you, and I don't know what all. But it's a funny story, because what is, really, what is the Penguin without the Batman? I mean, you need a little, you need. Every superhero needs his super villain. Superman had Lex Luthor, and Grobnob, you were definitely Lex Luthor to Andy's, Superman. Or really, would you have been more like, the Penguin to Andy's Batman? So you absolutely, drove him insane. But what was funny was, on my tribute video to Andy, you had some nice words to say about him, and I think Grobnob, if you'd have passed away, Andy would have had a couple, would have made the sign of the cross over your grave instead of peeing on it, and because it's a funny thing, life is short, and it's very easy to fight with people when we're behind a keyboard and there's not a lot of reality involved. And Grobnob says you were the Joker to his Batman, and oops, wrong one. I was the Joker to his Batman, and yeah, I think that's accurate. So the reality is that Andy is gone, and if we look back, if Andy had an enemy, or if Andy was mad at anybody, it pales in comparison to the fact that, we've all just gone through, such a difficult year. We're not done yet. There's a lot of people dead, from this pandemic. And I don't think Andy died of COVID, by the way. I didn't get that sense. I think it was, something else. And at the end of the day, this YouTube thing, all it is a connection between people. I mean, I got 50 of you in the room right now. I have 21,000 of you who watch my videos now and again. Something on the order of 6 million views on my videos, which is not a lot, by the way. It's not a lot for a channel. 6 million views, especially a channel that's been around like 5 years, like I have. But that just means that like 5-6 million times somebody has gone onto my videos. This is just a way of connecting people together. And I think a comment like this really brings it together for me. Grobnob says, Andy was a huge character and I'll miss him. He was a worthy enemy, a Rommel to my Monty. Grobnob, I know that you're British, but I don't know how you could possibly see yourself as Monty. Okay. Monty, you and Andy were a little bit more like Monty and Patton, all in the same war, but boy, they just did not get along with one another. Too funny. A lot of you are talking about what's happening over on Archie's channel. So apparently he's broadcasting now. I don't mind what's going on there if it's disrespectful to Andy or whatever. Look, at the end of the day, my goal here is to just talk to you people. The goal of Archie is money. Is a whole different matter. Blue Shirt Buddha joining us in the peanut gallery. Thanks for coming around, Blue Shirt. Yeah, I'm a little emotional about all of this stuff because, look, at the end of the day, I have engaged in internet feuds less than some people, certainly less than you, Grobnob, less than Andy, but more than Bruce Williams, who's like a saint. Like Bruce Williams. Can you imagine him being mad at anybody? or Random Rob. I mean, these are just salt of the earth, good people. But then there's guys like Andy and me, Matt and Don, who just, we've engaged in internet tomfoolery. And it's not that I regret it. It's that I know it's just really not that important. Okay. What's more important is the fact that this is just my little window on the world where I get to talk to you about stuff that concerns me. By the way, I'm still wearing this tuna. I don't know what's happening to me, guys, but I'm a Rolex fanboy who basically, maybe for the last month or two, I feel like I'm collecting Rolex but wearing tuna. So I don't know what's up with that. Bugsy says, of course it does, Mark. Silly little arguments in the past are irrelevant. When someone steps off, it's time for reflection. And you've channeled that for the online watch community today. Andy would have done it for me, Although, they say only the good die young. So with any luck, fellas, I'll be here, for quite a while to continue to ignore you. Rancher says they're using his deaths to get super chats. Well, Clyde, is that surprising? Or is it just a good opportunity? I remember when Archie made several $100s off your birthday. If you'd like to celebrate Clyde's birthday, super chat. If you would like to celebrate Andy's life and death, super chat money to Archie so he can get, fatter and dumber and drunker, But look, everybody's got to make a living. I don't mind that. I think the most important thing really is what you think, what you remember. So what I would urge you guys to do would be just to look at some of the tribute videos. I did one. Austin Daniels has done a tribute video, and Matt Stevens has. So there's 3 of them. I don't know if other people have done it yet, but I know that those 3, we 3 channels have put up tributes to Andy. So this is what I would urge you to do. Just go into those videos in the comments and just say, some of your recollections and thoughts about Andy, because what we'll do at some point is we will send links to those videos over to Mrs. Hunter so she can kind of get a sense of this YouTube watch community. She's aware of it, but her beloved Andy was hip. He was nipples deep in this YouTube stuff, and she's not. And so at the end of the day, it would be nice if she can read some kind words, about her husband. Now, what I've done, actually, nobody left crap, nasty comments. There's 0 shitty comments on my, on my tribute to Andy, and I didn't monetize it, and I'm not monetizing this either because, unlike some people, I don't want to make money on this. Although, Clyde, if you die, I'm definitely monetizing the Clyde is dead video. But I think Clyde, somehow, I think you would appreciate that. But I didn't want to monetize any of this. And I know that's not the same on, over there on Archie's channel. But I think it would be really nice if the Hunter family can see, how many thousands of people, that Andy affected, and from countries all over the world. Leonardo joining us late saying, did Andy really pass away? What happened? Yeah, sadly he did. And I can't tell you what happened. I can just say that I've been able to piece together that Andy's been sick for a while, and I feel like he knew it was coming. And I believe his wife, his family, I think they knew also. I don't really want to throw around a diagnosis because I don't know, but I have the sense based on what happened over the last 6 or 8 months that Andy had, some idea about what was happening here. So, anyway, guys, life is short. Eat dessert first. Love your family. Call your kids. Pet your dog. Andy's last words to me were Andy's last words to me are in my tribute video because he sent it as a text voice message. And what he did was he Showcase Watches. Showcase Watches, I'm about to ban you from my channel for some general tomfoolery, but I'm gonna read this before I ban you because you are an AC3 troll. all the old timers are on AC3 paying tribute to Andy. No, they're not. They're raising money for Fat Boy is what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Anyway, so now let me get rid of you, James, so that you're not here again ever. There we go. All of YouTube is the same. The guys we are listening to have done some of the same. We've all made mistakes. I've engaged in internet, I don't know, not trollery, but feuds, and I'm trying to draw away from all that. That's why I just banned showcase watches, because I would rather have, I would rather disappear people who want to inject the past back into my present, Better he should go and just be with Archie and, leave me alone. Old farts more like than old timers. To know it's coming at 55. I didn't know that Andy was 55, but I was pretty sure that, yeah, he was somewhere in his 50s. But see, he married Mrs. Hunter really young. They got a very early start on life. And that's why he's got grandkids, a bunch of them, I think, because I think they just loved each other. So they had kids immediately. Great guy. Great guy. Really a sad thing. Richard says, always loved Andy's videos. I loved Andy's videos too. It was that hat. It was the stogies. And he migrated through a variety of hats, My favorite of them all was the cowboy hat. But then he had that, wasn't the beret. What do you call it? The driving cap? He just went through a few different kinds of hats. Steve said that it was a great tribute. I don't know if you mean this or the tribute video that I did. But, at the end of the day, I feel like Andy deserves a bit of a send-off. He was a very influential guy. Guys, I want to thank you for having joined me. Let me just round this off by saying I'm done with my internet feuds. I'm just banning people who are extremely either rude or who just won't let the past go, And I think that there's room for everybody. Grobnob, you're such a troll. Good God, I'm glad you didn't die, Grobnob, because without an Andy, does life really have meaning? You'll probably be looking for a new Andy Hunter. Dear God, please let it not be me, please. Thank you, Grobnob, for your support and appreciation. But what I have really pledged to do was to just be grateful for what I have and obsess about the watches and let the feuds go. And, gosh, if people want to send money here or there, that's great. I'm waiting to find out whatever arrangements there are so I can send some flowers to Andy and his family. I think it would just be nice if they knew how many people he affected, because it's a lot of people. It's thousands and thousands of people. Well, guys, this is a sad day, but I didn't want to let it pass without chit-chatting with you about Andy Hunter. I'm going to let you go now. Thanks for having been with me. Let's do this again. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the show. I am Adriqos.